We're going where you want to go so you can be where you need to be. It's Road Gang Radio with Lindsay, Lawler, and Jimmy Mack on RadioNemo.com.
Hey, really quickly, we're trying to get Ian Nathan on the line.
What about if we get the other one and see if they can swap?
Martin Scorsese makes the best movie. We get the other guy on and then see if we can do kind of a strike that, reverse it.
See if maybe Matthew's available to talk mining now. Let's give that a shot.
Oh, I thought you meant Matthew Sloan there for a second.
Who's that?
The guy from Robert Braswell's interview.
Oh, that Matt. Oh,
oh!
Yeah, no.
What? Yeah, nope. I'm never going to forget that. Triple heart, by the way, from our friend the Touchdown, the Turtle. Our dear friend is over there in the chat, as many of you are as well. Trucker Boson and Lindsay have me laughing a lot over there in the chat. No, you cannot mail Freya to 4-aught, Lindsay.
Okay, noted.
And yes, it just got really weird by you doing that, by the way. I know you've seen a lot of
I'm leaning into my crazy these days. I'm in my crazy era, Jim. Go on.
That's right. I'm in my mean era, by the way.
I like it. Oddly enough, the mean era looks good on you because I know what your intention is behind the mean. It's good intent. If it was mean with ill intention, it wouldn't work. But yours is mean with good intention, so it works. You feel me?
I think I'm suspending habeas corpus next. I think that's my next big move as the new mean Jim. I don't know. You probably heard a little bit of it in the interviews this morning when I was talking. There was a little flint.
Zero Fs.
Zero Fs. Zero Fs. Because after all, when your back's against the wall, you redneck mother, I got to tell you, there's not much more you can do to kind of do that. Good morning, Trucker Boson, from our good friend Touchdown Turtle. All kinds of great stuff. Before we try to figure out this programming logjam that we're having right now, do you have a favorite Martin Scorsese film? I mean, I feel comfortable asking you that because he's made a lot of movies, and maybe you've seen a couple.
Yeah, of course I've seen a couple. I get probably The Irishman.
You like The Irishman?
I do.
That wasn't a judgment question.
No. Yeah, I do. I don't know if I would call it my favorite. It's the first one that comes to mind that left a mark. You know what I mean?
I understand.
Maybe it's not my favorite, but I mean, Taxi Driver probably. I would.
Oh, it's so good. So good. And Jodie Foster's 13, 14 years old? So good.
Yeah, probably of course, Goodfellas, but.
Goodfellas. Remember Billy Crystal at the Oscars doing the Goodfella routine, which was really hysterical. So I'm going to
go with Taxi Driver. What about you?
I have three to recommend to you, and then I'll tell you my favorite one. The three that I'd recommend that you watch that I think you would love is you would love After Hours with Griffin Dunn. You would love it. It's about a guy that basically gets lost in Soho and has to find his way back home in New York City. I've not seen it. It is terrific. You would love After Hours. Right up your alley. Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore, which is...
that I just love. I just noticed, by the way, I look back and the three I said are actually the three, and that's not... I just realized they're the three in the notes. That's not why I said it. Those actually are the three biggest ones I've seen. Alice Doesn't Live Here, I've been told to watch as well.
Oh, my God. Ellen Burstyn wins Best Actress for it, and there's a lot of people who actually would agree, Lindsay, that the best performance ever by Chris Christopherson is in Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. And we are playing some real fun games here, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling, figuring out some programming situations, Lindsay.
I think we pivot.
Pivot?
I think we pivot and we go mining. What say you, Jimmy Mack?
I would love to do that since I've been prepped up for all. I'm so excited about this. I don't know. How do you feel about this, by the way?
I'm terrible. I feel terrible. I feel claustrophobic. Matthew, I'm going to tell him that the idea of this maybe he can help ease my anxiety around caves and mining and tight, dark spaces, etc. I'm hoping Matthew seems like a guy who's going to maybe get me over the hump, Jim. I don't know.
I got to tell you, if anybody's going to get you over the hump, it's going to be Matthew Portfleet. He is the Director of Mine Safety and Health at Michigan Technological University in Houghton, Michigan, USA. He owns and operates the Adventure Mining Company, which is located in Greenland, Michigan, on the historic site of the 1850s Adventure copper mine. He also teaches university classes in drilling and blasting, mine safety. Along with that, what have you done with your life? Designs and constructs bat habitat-friendly abandoned mine enclosures. There you go, Lindsay. You get to enjoy the bats in there as well, too. In cooperation with the U.S. Forest Service and Department of Natural Resources. We are thrilled to welcome him here this morning. He is actually dropping in earlier than we originally had told him to. He's being a tremendously good sport. Guys, I want you to go to Instagram Instagram, and go to Adventure Mining Co. AdventureMineTours.com. Matthew, good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you much. Yes.
Okay, Matthew, I talk about this a lot. Like I'm the spelunking, cave diving, mining, whatever. There's actually even a really cool venue.
Elevator riding.
Elevator riding, the sheet over my head in bed. Any of it stresses me out. But I'm also equally as fascinated with it. And I wanted just to let's start sort of basic here and have you paint a picture for us, what it's like to go 300 feet underground, because, I don't know if there was a moment where you're like, hey, let's invite people to go into a giant hole in the earth. What could that be? Outside of people who are there's experts, and then there's dum-dums like me taking them down there. So I want to know, what is the vibe down there, from spooky to peaceful to Indiana Jones? What is the vibe that keeps you coming back and made you say, I would like other people to be able to experience this?
I think it's a good question, actually. And I gotta apologize. I had a cold this past week, and my voice is a little bit weak or odd here. So if I sound odd sometimes, that's the reason. I'm
Phoebe on Friends calls that her sexy phlegm. So just lean into your sexy phone voice, Matthew. Work it.
It's better than it was a couple of days ago. I couldn't talk at all. I'm doing a lot better now. But as far as the underground, I think it is just, and to me, it's just fascinating. You're going in, inside basically part of the world that nobody else ever sees. People either love it or hate it. I don't think there's much in between. People love going underground. Even miners love working there, love the experience, or they just, maybe like yourself, don't want to deal with it. This is scary, run away. But for me, it's just fascinating. Every time, if you actually are doing drilling, blasting, every time you do that, you're seeing things that nobody else has ever in the world ever seen. It's like a new area you're creating. And then the history too. Up in this area, you're going in areas that were mined out back in the 1850s. A lot of those, guys working by hand, by candlelight. And it's just, to me, it's fascinating, visiting in places where they worked and trying to experience that firsthand.
I wanted to kind of ask you about Adventure Mine Tours, because here we go. We can rappel down a mine shaft. We can actually drill or blast, or we can just take it easy and just take a little walking tour. Can you kind of tell us about where the idea comes from to actually turn what used to be a profession and is not the same as cave diving or spelunking? There's something very different going on here. It's more of a controlled environment. But tell us how you got the idea and how you kind of landed under the earth.
Actually, I went to Michigan Tech University up here in Houghton, Michigan. Went there without any knowledge of mining, had no idea there was mining in the area. Started mechanical engineering, found out that lots and lots of computer work and that type of engineering was not really my forte. And actually got, as I was up here at university, kind of learned about the mining area. A few of my friends and myself, to be honest, we almost got kicked out of college or flunked out the first year because we were spending too much time exploring old mine sites and, doing a lot of things maybe we shouldn't have been doing. But just really got into the history and appreciated it, and actually switched to mining engineering, graduated with a degree in that. And basically, after a little bit of time downstate, saving some money up, I came back up here. Just really loved the area, loved the history, ended up purchasing property and then expanding it tours. And this, if we enjoy this and everybody else, enjoys this, my friends at least, for maybe the crazy ones, but if we find this fascinating, there's got to be a lot of other people that are going to find it fascinating also, and just started expanding from that. And our goal is kind of to keep it as much as it was when they mined here. If you go to most mine tours or cave tours, you have a lot of electric lights, you have, handrails, warning signs, whatever you want to call it, all these modern conveniences to make it more appealing to the general public. We kind of went the opposite way, where we keep the group size small. We have always a tour guide with them, but can maintain safety and kind of that by just being in a small group, basically telling people, don't go here, that's dangerous, stay on this trail here. Everybody gets hard hats, headlamps, there's no other lights on the ground, and just really let people experience that. And people seem to love it. They do enjoy it. I shouldn't say they all love it, but whether they love it or aren't too sure about it, when they come out with a unique experience that they look back on and say, that was really cool, that was really fascinating, I'm glad I did that. Visited that site.
Let me show you something really fun here really quickly before we let you go on. to kind of explain to you the difference between Lindsay and myself, by the way, you'll love this, is the fact that she is slowly creeping away from the microphone and crawling inside of herself. And I'm getting this almost like Heath Ledger Joker smile where I'm just like, go on, keep taking me into darkness. Where are the possibilities for adventure? And Lindsay loves a great adventure, especially when it's in the wide open spaces. And
yes.
I mean,
take me to the prairie. Take me to the prairie.
So how do you guys deal with that, I guess, is the question. Somebody comes in there, and you guys, of course, take a lot of precautions despite creating the verisimilitude of what it's like to be in a mine. How do you kind of make sure that people don't panic? How do you kind of assure them that this is going to be fun, that, yes, there are some similarities to what this world was like, but we are looking out for you? Talk a little bit about the precautions you take.
So that's a good question. A lot of people do, maybe like Lindsay, but they come to a mine tour with an expectation they can't do it, or they're too claustrophobic, or it's too scary. We're always very honest. We tell people, yeah, it obviously is dark. It is, rough footing. You got to watch your step. Occasionally bats, especially in the fall. But we encourage everybody to try it. Yeah, we always tell people, we're walking in. You're not like you're on a train or something where you're kind of dragged in against your will. You're walking in, with a small group of people. You're going to know within the first, 4 or 5 minutes whether you like it or don't like it. And if you walk in there and the first 5 minutes are fine, I can pretty much guarantee that you're going to be fine the rest of the time. If you find it fascinating. And a lot of people actually having your own light source compared to having this long, endless chain of lights that gives you that perception of going on forever. But being in control of your own light and having it on your head gives people a lot more reassurance that they have some control and they can kind of see what they want to see, look in dark corners where they want to do with that, but they don't feel as trapped, I guess, that way. But it's surprising. It's rare for people to try it and actually, not do it. We do probably 6,000 tours a year, and I'd say throughout the whole year we have maybe, 5 or 6 people don't do that. So it's a pretty small percentage that actually try it and are like, we're not sure we like this, I want to go out, and we take them back out. And we always tell people it's not a hardship, we're not going to care, nobody else is going to care. If you try it, we walk in there, for a couple minutes, you don't want it, we'll take you back out, get you right back down. Nobody's going to fault you for that. We'll refund the money, whatever you want. It's not a big deal, but we'd much rather have everybody try it and experience it. And most people actually find out they're much more apt to, maybe not enjoy it the whole time, but at least tolerate it and get a really cool experience to look back on and be like, I'm glad I did that. I'm glad they kind of encouraged me to try it, so forth. And the same way with longer tours, with rope work and rappelling, we have everybody try it. And, people, if they don't do it, we'll work with them, but let's encourage everybody to do their best, see what they can. And we talk about our staff, too, and I've actually done a few presentations on this at conferences, but we're always trying to kind of push everybody, whether it's the first time in mine or they've been there a lot. So trying to push everybody to say kind of just to the edge of their comfort zone where, they're kind of not quite sure, but it's not terrifying, it's not scary, but still it's kind of a little bit on that edge of being something you're not used to. And then, but when people do that, they enjoy it. They come back with an experience they want to talk about and share with others because it was, unique to them in that way.
I do like that. It does open it up. If I know that,
Oh, I see what you did there. Open it up. I got you.
Thank you. If I know that I don't have to go all the way, it makes me feel a little better stepping into it. I guess we're talking with Matthew Portfleet with the, you can head to adventureminetours.com, over on Instagram, they're Adventure Mining Co. to check them out. Matthew, I'm curious. So I guess the balance, I'll say, in, teaching safety and blasting, how that compares to actually helping people rediscover the lost world. Because there's a balance of, back in the day, they didn't know they didn't know what was safe or wasn't. They just went forward and learned the hard way, basically, over and over. And now me hear those stories. I remember studying this kind of thing back, growing up and just being like, well, I would never try that. But if you don't know what could happen, then you would try things, right? So how do you sort of balance the teaching safety and the learning side of it while also opening yourself up to exploring? We don't find out things if we don't go for it. So how do you, I guess, personally balance the being mindful and safe and also wanting to learn more and kind of push yourself, if that makes sense?
Well, a lot of it's just, having the background knowledge, experience. Every mine site is a little bit different, but in our location, as we've done through it, there's we're not like coal mines, a lot of explosive gases, these types of things don't really exist in our location. But even that being said, if we ever go in new areas, like we have dewatered part of the mine, we've gained access to lower levels that were previously flooded. When we enter those the first time, especially, we always carry multi-gas meters to check oxygen levels, these type things, to make sure it's safe. And we've never actually found any issues whatsoever. But that's just for us as we were doing development work, exploration work, and so forth, in older parts of the mines. But for the tour routes, those have been well established. They're known routes. We do a lot of this constant checks, like for make sure there's no loose rocks, these type things. We call it barring and scaling. And not much really changes anyways, but it's just a constant check we do a couple times a year, kind of make sure things are as we expect them to be. And yeah, we keep it safety by keeping the guests in very known areas that are known to be safe. And again, where the general public doesn't usually go. Areas that we are pushing the limits or boundaries or exploration or developing new routes, then we are a lot more cautious with more safety gear, protocols, these type things, always with partners, never by yourself. That's a huge rule. There's always have, somebody else with you to make sure that you're being safe, and so forth. But then mining in general, I think just from a mine safety training standpoint, especially in the United States or other developed countries like, Australia or European mines, mining's become very safe. In the United States, if you work in an industrial mine site, you're on par with about the average school teacher for injury rates. You're actually safer than most retail sales. So if you choose to work at like Walmart or Target like that, you're actually more apt to have injuries than you are in a underground or a modern mining site in the United States. Which sounds crazy, but if people fall off a ladder at a Target store stocking a shelf, nobody hears about it. But if somebody's trapped in a mine, it becomes national news. So people still have that perception of the danger of mining, but in reality, mining has become a very, very safe industry, very highly regulated. And safer than a lot of other things you would compare it to.
I guess that's true. We overthink the big things, and then I hurt myself on a daily basis doing dumb stuff. So I guess I might as well take. You don't think about it.
Well,
exactly.
The other thing is to remember anytime that there is any sort of mining event that happens in the United States or in Canada or over in Australia, it's important to remember too that it's news because it's a rare occurrence. There's a reason why airline crashes are news. If they happened all the time, we would do something about them almost immediately, but they happen rarely, and it's usually a complex series of events. It literally is a lottery ticket at that point. That's what the regulations and safety are like. It's the exact opposite of a lottery ticket, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
But it's a rare occurrence, which is why it's news. If something happens on a daily basis, it would become the noise of the news rather than the featured story or headline.
Yeah, and I don't have statistics, but I'm sure if you covered a news story every single day, somebody fell off a ladder or got hit by a forklift or something at a retail or warehouse, it would be nonstop. You never hear the end of it. It's just that we don't see that as being newsworthy, for better or worse, so we don't cover it. But yeah, it's a very true statement. Absolutely.
Yeah, could you imagine that? Like basically on the local news, a fender bender happened today over at the corner of Fifth and Main Street. Good God Almighty, what's going on? Somebody needs to look into this tragedy.
That would be great if that made news. That we would be in a good place in the world.
That's exactly, absolutely correct. Hey, Bob got a hangnail. News at 11.
Great.
Let me. Go ahead.
And historically, once I add to that, historically mining has been very dangerous and still is in many parts of the world. Places where there is not regulations exist, especially coal mining areas. You still hear horror stories of that, and it is a terrible environment. And historically, it was unsafe. But in the past many decades, especially since like 1960s, 70s, when they got a lot of federal regulations in place, it has changed drastically as far as the injury and fatality rates compared to decades ago or centuries ago.
By the way, Lindsay, you know how we know that it used to be an absolute disaster and a real problem? The Bee Gees wrote a song about it.
Yeah, what's that?
It's called I forget the year, but the great mining accident of whatever year it happens in. They have actually.
They actually did. I thought you were trying to tell a joke.
No, there's no punchline
Not
coming.
trying.
There's an actual Bee Gees song that is about when they were still doing folk music in their harmonies. That's actually about a mining accident over in England. Crazy stuff. Matthew, I was kind of curious in regards to. Do you have age limits on this stuff? And I was kind of interested in the rappelling aspect of it as well, too. Of all the things you have to offer, is there something that is more popular than the rest? And we'll kind of leave the walking tours out of it because that seems to be the gravitational point that most people would start with. But beyond that, with all the offerings you have, what do you find people are most interested in kind of finding out more about?
It's actually changed a lot in the past. This has been 21 years of mine tours for us as the end of this summer here. But I will say historically, when we first started the tours back in 2004, I think it was, we actually had one shorter tour, walking tours, and the walking tours were by far and large the most popular. Maybe it's because it was a newer site. We still offer rappelling, but people were just more apt to try that. But as things have progressed for 20 years, now our longer tours that have the rappelling, have the rope work, or the more involved experience have become more popular and actually outselling, the shorter or more benign tours that way. But it seems like people really do like that hands-on experience. The rope work and rappelling, some people come there for that. They want the excitement of that. Some people just want to see different parts of the mine. But actually, we even offer like a 6-hour long tour, and that has gone from being the on-demand offering several years ago to where it's scheduled a couple times a week now, and usually that schedule is booked up for every single offering when it's offered. And that's kind of has changed in people's demographics or their desires or how they want to experience a site. I think you see that a lot of places, though, across the whole national park system, other places where those more hands-on experiences really are a driving factor of having people go and do what they want to do. The traditional experience of going to a site and reading signs and learning about it, but not participating, I think is falling on the wayside to things that can give people an interactive experience with that. So, yeah, I think the rappelling, those type of things really do have a draw, just that unique aspect of that. I think it's going to keep it, we keep pushing the limits a little bit and expanding the tours towards that direction. That seems to be well received by the general public when they visit.
I keep pushing Lindsay over here.
Yeah, stop it.
I keep
Stop it.
pushing.
Stop poking the bear. Stop poking the bear. Hey, Matthew, I always want to tie things to music. So, and hey, listen, maybe I'll go down there. I'm a songwriter, Matthew, in Nashville. So maybe I'll go down there and be inspired. I always talk about inspiring places. I think if I can make it, because it's not the environment that I'm scared of. It's what would happen if the environment collapsed and I got stuck down here. That's what I'm scared of. It's not, I think the environment would be incredible. And that's sort of that's the bummer for me, because it's like, it's same with like scuba diving. I know I'm terrified of it more. I'm terrified what could happen, not what will happen. You know what I mean? But as far as inspiration goes, so if you were going to have a theme song for when you're underground, Matthew, like you have your headphones on, or it just happens to be playing when you're walking through and exploring, would it be more Zen music, or would you be like Metallica or like down there? What would feel right to listen to you?
Yeah, probably something in between. And usually we don't. I don't usually listen to music underground. I don't know why, because it just seems like we're always doing something else. But I think it'd be something more, not Zen music. It would be more, something much more lively. I'm not sure what it would be. It's a good thought, but.
Probably Taylor Swift, right, Matthew?
Yeah,
You're Swiftie?
sure, that's what
I don't know, maybe. Yeah. But it's a good question though. But actually, it's wanting to experience there is the quiet. If you ever do have experience to go there and just sit for a while, when there's people go to those float chambers for sensory deprivation. The mind's kind of the same way. If you go there and just sit for a while in the darkness, there's almost no sound, or the sound that you hear like drops of water, which you wouldn't notice, and most time become all of a sudden the loudest thing around you and become very, very noticeable. But it's that lack of, I guess, that sensory deprivation really is a unique experience. Some people really like that. Some people kind of freaks them out. But that is a unique aspect of that mine, of any underground.
Wow.
Like that.
That's such a good point, by the way, how hard it is actually to achieve pure silence, that the more things you make silence, the louder the things that aren't get, which is really kind of cool if you think about it.
It's very cool. Cool. Yeah. It's cool down there.
I actually worked with worked with a filming crew a couple years ago. They shot a movie underground. But the sound guys working with that, it was actually really interesting talking to them. They had never been in a movie production setting where the baseline noise was that quiet. And then they were actually going crazy, like drops of water. I remember like landing on things nearby that you would never even notice, but were really hard with them because they were so loud compared to the baseline of no noise that they were actually struggling with the sound levels, trying to to figure out how to do this because it was a really unique environment for them. But yeah, it is
Wow.
a unique.
That's fascinating. My husband's a sound man. I need to ask him that. And he saves a lot of weird random sounds, including people peeing when they don't know their mic's on. That's a story for another day. Wait, so the outside of the song, but also what's the most unexpected thing that you found underground that would sort of that would wow me who's not going underground? What's the weirdest thing you found down there?
I'm getting her there.
Well, the weirdest. I don't know. That's we find, this is a joke between us. We find a lot of early pre-1900, but like miners, like boots or parts of boots. And we always wondered how they got out of the mine when they would leave their boot behind. That was always a question we had.
Yeah.
we find like occasionally things like that.
It's like the one
otherwise,
shoe.
like
When you
some-
see one shoe on
Yeah,
the
one
freeway
shoe,
and
you
you're like,
find
what's
one
happening
boot.
in your life?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you find that one boot on the ground. Like, well, the poor guy walked out barefoot. That'd be pretty, terrible. But the other thing too, as we dewatered some of the lower levels, we actually were in areas that nobody's been in. That mine flooded, the best we can tell, about 1917. Those were the last dates. It appears some of the miners actually were like scribing dates in the wall as they were leaving the mine, so it flooded probably shortly thereafter. Those dates are 1917. But going back in there and finding this like place where they'd eaten lunch, you find bits of like bone
Really
fragments,
cool.
or like we found even like hard-boiled eggshells laying underground there. Stuff.
Oh my
The weird thing
gosh.
with that, those little details it's not really, I guess, that unusual when you think people are working and eating lunch down there, but actually see that where they could see where they sat. They had like little, rocks set up, those nice flat rocks to sit on, and that's where they sat there and ate lunch and tossed their scraps off to the side. But stuff like that was really fascinating. It's very, very fascinating to me.
Yeah.
Matthew Portfleet, by the way, is the Director of Mine Safety and Health at Michigan Technological University in Houghton, Michigan. He owns and operates the Adventure Mining Company located in Greenland, Michigan, on the site of the historic 1850s Adventure Copper Mine. Mr. Portfleet also teaches university classes in drilling and blasting, mine safety and designs, and constructs, I love this, bat habitat-friendly abandoned mine enclosures. You get one.
Bat-a-tat.
I wanted to get to
Bat-a-tat.
a bat attack.
Yeah.
How do you make it? We got about 40 seconds here. How do you make it bat-friendly?
So we have space for the bats to fly through. We have a very open gate or closure that lets the airflow go, so lets the bats fly through. Design doesn't have any sharp edges, so if the bats do happen to, contact when they're flying with their very fragile wings, they don't have any sharp edges or blunt faces to hit. Everything's kind of sloped or angled. The main thing is to keep people out. Bats are very particular about their habitat, especially not being disturbed. So we're keeping people out with very, very heavy gates, but letting the bats fly through unimpeded to go to their desired hibernation grounds up here.
Unimpeded. Celebrate the bats. Welcome the bats. We're talking about getting some bat houses out where we live.
Unimpeded.
By the way,
Unimpeded, Lindsay.
unimpeded. By the way, over in the chat, Marshall said that he thought you were setting up a punchline for the Bee Gees song to be "How Deep Is Your Love." That was a good one.
That's pretty good. That's actually
That's pretty
excellent.
good.
That's pretty excellent work there. And staying alive really applies well too.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Were the Bee Gees? Were they miners? Did they aspire to mine?
No, but they were folk singers, which of course was like all that
Music
Gordon
mining.
Lightfoot stuff. All
Yeah,
that,
that's music mining
In
is what
the
that is.
event of something happening to me. Go ahead. Sorry.
Matthew Portfleet, thank you so much for making the time. Okay, I'll say this: if I'm ever going to do it, I'm gonna do it up there in Michigan with you. If I'm gonna mine, if I'm going to explore the mines, it's going to be with you. And Michigan's one of the 4 states I haven't been to in the country, so maybe this will be
my God.
I know, isn't that weird? Anyway, AdventureMineTours.com. You can head over to Instagram to Adventure Mining Co. Matthew, such a pleasure. I'll think about it. How about that?
Sounds good. Well, look to see you visit in a few years sometime.
Yeah, perfect.
Feel better, Matthew, by the way. Get over that
Yeah.
head
Thank
cold.
you, by the way. Yeah, so my voice is a little weak sometimes.
You did great. You did great. Compared to sometimes the people we talk to, you're phenomenal.
It
Get out
works
of-
for you. Lean in. It works. It sounds great.
Thank you, Matthew.
Yeah, thank you.